Today on Public Eye News, an NMU student saves a life and an achy-breaky announcement for the 2019 UP State Fair.
Adam Diaz has a look at our weather, and Caleb Rydell has sports. From NMU lacrosse to history being made in the bowling world, this Sunday, WrestleMania. Hi, I'm Ross Ray.
And I'm Julie Wormlinger, and this is Public Eye News. Nursing student Tess Kostelek said she is leaning toward a career in an emergency room because the fast-paced, high drama, and need to think quickly appeal to her. She recently found herself in a situation that involved all of those elements when she saved a student from choking at Northern Lights Dining. Her response impressed a staff member and reassured Kostelek that she could thrive in an ER. She was nervous she couldn't do the procedure correctly, but realized it was better to help the student than do nothing at all. Shane Hawkins, operation manager, was summoned to help. He arrived just as Kostelek was able to help. Kostelek was impressed with the nursing program tour during a campus visit and decided to follow in her mother's footsteps. Kostelek is also involved in the NMU Student Nurses Association. And United States Senator Debbie Stabenow will serve as the keynote speaker at Northern Michigan University's commencement on Saturday, May 4th. The ceremony begins at 10:30 a.m. in the Superior Dome. Erickson said Stabenow is also committed to workforce development and filling the critical need for skilled employees. Northern plays a role in that as one of the few Michigan universities to offer educational programs from the 1- and 2-year certificate through the doctorate level. Senator Stabenow is also leading federal efforts to protect the Great Lakes. She made history in 2000 when she became the first woman from Michigan elected to the United States Senate.
Nominations for the 2019 Upper Peninsula Folklife Awards is now open. Nominees can include individuals or organizations that make a difference in the creation or preservation of folk culture in the Upper Peninsula. Nominations will be accepted till Friday, April 12th. A Kingsford teen accused of breaking into a home and threatening several occupants of the residence pleaded guilty to a lesser charge Thursday in Dickinson County Circuit Court. 17-year-old Brandon Ray reportedly kicked in the door of a residence in Iron Mountain on February 7th, threatening the occupants with a knife. The residents subdued Ray shortly before the police arrived. He later pleaded guilty to charges of home invasion, third-degree weapon, and assault weapon. His sentencing date is set for May 20th.
The $10.9 million MDOT project for US 41 in Marquette Township is set to begin April 15th. Thursday night, representatives from MDOT joined Marquette Township officials for an informational presentation of the project. The project includes new roundabouts at Brickyard Road by the Meyer gas station and Country Road 492 by Walmart and Target. The project also calls for a multi-use trail and tunnel, which was recently named Pete's Pass. MDOT officials say the roundabouts are the best fit for that area. The full project won't be completed until June of 2020. And Billy Ray Cyrus, singer, songwriter, and actor, takes the stage at the UP State Fair on Saturday, August 17th. Cyrus comes from Flatwoods, Kentucky, where family jam sessions were common. Learning to adapt to play with his left hand, he joined the Cyrus household in playing country, gospel, and old standards. While Cyrus continues to produce albums, he also explored other genres, played in the Brother Clyde, published an autobiography, and dove into the world of acting, having celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Achy Breaky Heart release. Cyrus decided to celebrate the milestone by having his first tour in years. And stay tuned, because after this break, we'll be back with your national and international news.
After a gloriously fast and loose life, Violetta finds her one true love. But what can love do when her time is running out? With this brilliant production of Verdi's beloved heartbreaker La Traviata, Yannick Nézet-Séguin debuts as the Met's music director. Don't miss the sensational Diana Damrau and Juan Diego Flores in La Traviata on Great Performances at the Met.
Tonight at 9 on Public TV 13.
And welcome back. President Donald Trump is headed to California today in a push to make border security a central campaign issue for his 2020 re-election. He was heading to Southern California town of Calexo to meet with local law enforcement officials and tour a section of the recently rebuilt fencing. The fencing is a 2-mile section that was long planned replacement for an older barrier rather than a new wall. Though Trump walked away from his threat to close the border, he still intends to highlight conditions at the boundary with Mexico. And the search for a Californian woman kidnapped on an African safari earlier this week has intensified. CBS' Ian Lee is tracking the story from London.
Security teams in Uganda have expanded their search beyond the wildlife park where Kimberly Sue Endicott and a local driver were taken at gunpoint Tuesday night.
The police has dispatched an elite squad from tourism police to actively pursue a group of 4 unknown gunmen.
The gunman used Endicott's cell phone to demand a $500,000 ransom. Authorities tell CBS News hard negotiations are taking place, and the 56-year-old has been on the phone at least once a day to prove she's alive. America's official policy is not to pay hostage takers. Endicott, who runs this skincare clinic in Costa Mesa, California, was on safari at a popular wildlife reserve in Uganda when the armed kidnappers ambushed her vehicle. California resident Bill Toon was also touring the park at the time.
It very well could have been us. And it's a bit shocking. We've been working in Uganda for quite a long time, as well as in Kenya, and we've come to be very comfortable here.
Hundreds of thousands of tourists visit Uganda's 10 national parks each year, and local officials fear the kidnapping will scare off foreigners, like it did in 1999 after Rwandan rebels killed 8 tourists, including 2 Americans. U.S. officials tell CBS News it's unclear who kidnapped Endicott, but the fear is her captors will try to sell her to a terrorist group. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Harvard University says it is reviewing a real estate transaction involving its longtime fencing coach and a man whose son was later admitted to the school and joined the team. Today, a lawyer who was among the wealthy parents charged in the scandal said he planned to plead guilty and apologized for his actions. Gordon Kaplan of Greenwich, Connecticut, is the second parent to announce plans to plead guilty. Kaplan is accused of paying $75,000 to get a test supervisor to correct the answers on his daughter's ACT exam after she took it. The fencing coach, Peter Brand, in 2016 sold his 3-bedroom Boston home, which was assessed at the time for $549,300 to Jai Zhao for nearly $1 million. Zhao purchased the home as an investment and as a favor to Brand and denied it was done to help his son get into the prestigious university. The case is the largest college admissions scheme ever prosecuted by the U.S. Justice Department. And a new poll shows 1 in 4 older adults feel lonely, at least some of the time. CBS's Gwen Baumgartner has the story of a London woman's campaign to connect her community.
Even in a busy place like London, filled with nearly 9 million people, loneliness can take its toll.
Sometimes being in a big city is more isolating. You're surrounded by people, but you don't know who to talk to.
For Louise Kay, loneliness hit when her husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. She talked her local restaurant into opening its doors to a social idea.
I just kept my fingers crossed that people would turn up.
And they did.
Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Diana.
I'm Diana.
Cafe Conversations is now a weekly meetup for strangers who've learned to connect over a cup of coffee or tea. Brought together by loneliness, the group talks about anything but.
When you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I have dreams I'll be lawyer.
Question cards keep the conversation flowing.
You don't have to say anything. You can talk as much as you like about whatever you like.
A new poll from Michigan researchers reveals loneliness shows up most in people 50 to 80 years old who also have health issues and unhealthy eating habits. Previous studies link chronic loneliness to problems including memory loss and shorter lives.
They said they were interested.
Sausan Suleiman struggled to find a place in the British capital after fleeing from Syria.
So after you've been to a cafe conversation, how do you feel?
I feel so happy.
Yeah. So less lonely.
Yes, absolutely.
After seeing the friendships formed through these cafe conversations, he hopes the concept will catch on around the world, making people feel less alone, 1 cup at a time. Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, London.
And after the break, we'll be back with your weather and sports. Stay tuned.
I've been around the world, but there's one place I keep coming back to. This week on UTR, it's our first ever Do-Gooder special, where we revisit some of our favorite philanthropists. We'll show you a league that's a miracle, people that are making reading a reality, and a basket full of food for hungry kids. We'll even show you why Fido truly is man's best friend. This isn't Under the Radar. You just gotta see.
Tonight at 5 and Saturday at 10:30 p.m.
Hi, and welcome back to Public Eye News Weather. I am Adam Diaz, your weatherman for today. And behind me is a nice gloomy and still melting NMU campus. And taking a look at our current conditions, it is currently cloudy. Temperature at 40 degrees, wind southwest at 6 miles an hour, barometric pressure at 30.04 and falling. Looking at tonight, we're looking at partly cloudy, the low of 35, winds west-southwest at 4 miles an hour. Looking towards tomorrow, we're looking at light rain, the high of 45, winds east-northeast at 6 miles an hour. And taking a look at our cloudy UP, starting at Sault Ste. Marie at 34, Manistique at 35, Escanaba 37, Menominee at 41. Going over to Iron Mountain 39, Ironwood 43, Hone 42, and beautiful and cloudy Marquette at 40. Looking to our week ahead, we are looking at Sunday, the high of 53, the low of 38, and rain. Monday, the high of 48, the low of 32, and partly cloudy. Tuesday, the high of 35, the low of 27, and AM rain and looks for some snow showers. Doesn't look like the weather's going to be great, Caleb, but let's toss it over to lacrosse.
Absolutely, and what a lacrosse game we had at NMU. Adam, thank you for letting me go into that. NMU's women's lacrosse is back in action tonight as they play University Concordia St. Paul in the final game on the road. Swing of the GLIAC games, the Wildcats are at 3-6 heading into tonight's game and are hoping to continue a winning streak, which currently stands at 2. Both of those wins were GLIAC contests. St. Paul is currently sitting at 6-4, and likewise are coming off a recent win. Tonight's game gets underway at 7 p.m. from St. Paul with live stats and video available online. Monday will be a historic day as the Pro Bowlers Association heads to Portland, Maine for the first ever PBA playoffs. 24 bowlers have qualified for the event, led by #1 qualifier and widely considered best in the world, Jason Belmonte. Belmonte's record-breaking 2019 featuring both PBA Tournament of Champions and PBA World Championship titles for a PBA record 11th major championship positions the Australian ahead his fellow bowlers. Coverage of the inaugural PBA playoffs begins Monday live at 7 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. Speaking of history making events, for the first time in its 35-year history, WrestleMania will be headlined by women. This Saturday's main event sees former UFC champion and current WWE Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey taking on Royal Rumble winner and fan favorite Becky Lynch and WWE SmackDown Women's Champion and daughter of Ric Flair. Charlotte Flair is a triple threat match. The match is on one of the most highly anticipated in recent years. Sunday's main event is the culmination of several years-long women's revolution in the WWE, which has allowed for women competitors to showcase their skills and athleticism. Well, we're looking at a cat fight here, and I hear you have some cat news as well, Ross.
I do indeed, Caleb. Now here's a story for all you cat lovers out there. A new study in Tokyo suggests household cats can respond to the sound of their own names. While that makes perfect sense to most cat lovers, this provides the first experimental evidence that cats can distinguish between words that people say. Now, all this reporter has to say is meow wow. And that's all we have time for today. Thank you for tuning in to Public Eye News, and we'll see you next week.
The preceding program was produced in studios located in the Edgar L. Hardin Learning Resources Center by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television.